And as I preach, you might want to be thinking about since most of us can multitask these days, the two questions you can answer or respond to is, how is the Holy Spirit at work today in your life? How is the Holy Spirit moving in your life? Where have you seen the movement of the Holy Spirit? And where have you seen the movement of the Holy Spirit in our world? How is the Spirit of God still renewing our earth, changing things, transforming us? So how do you see the Spirit at work in your life, and how do you see the Spirit at work in the world? You can answer both, you can answer one, you can answer none, and you're going to text that to 505-604-6345, and he's got it up on the screen. Thank God for technology. Just a little bit of history about Pentecost. It was originally called the Feast of Weeks, or Pentecost, as it's known in the Old Testament, and it marked the end of the celebration of the spring harvest. It was a time of transition when the first fruits of the earth were sacrificed to God. It was also a time of renewal, where some faithful Jewish people would renew their covenant with God. It was a time of new birth and new beginnings and new commitments for many. With the arrival of the Holy Spirit, the Christian church begins to emerge and find its shape. What was nervous and unformed begins to form as a group of believers united around the witness to Jesus and what Jesus represented for them. One commentator described Pentecost as the Big Bang event that sets the events in the book of Acts into motion, as you see the disciples spread out and go to other lands and share the word. Fire and wind and humble Galileans speaking persuasively in many tongues were dramatic signs that God was doing a new thing that would transform the lives of all those present and far beyond in time and place.
Amen.
Those disciples that gathered in Acts 2 were faithful Jewish people looking for a Jewish Messiah. And when the Spirit came, they became ambassadors of a more universal experience of God. And on that first Pentecost, it would not be a new birth, but more of a rebirth. Not a new covenant, but a renewed covenant that would change the hearts and the minds of the disciples and renew the face of our earth. They truly experienced what it was to be a follower of Jesus, as the Holy Spirit knit them together, brought them closer, gave them wisdom and understanding. I believe that what happened 2,000 years ago is good news for the 21st century Christians as we celebrate Pentecost today. The same Spirit of God that warmed the hearts of those disciples on the road to Emmaus and inspired the tongues of those gathered in Jerusalem is still looking to inspire a rebirth within each one of us this day and continuing on. It is the same Spirit that led those early disciples to go out and share the good news that is breaking into our cloudy consciousness and sending us out as ambassadors of a renewed earth. The Holy Spirit is alive and active and well on our earth, transforming us and renewing us. And it was that same Holy Spirit that drew that little band of disciples out into the world that also shaped them into a real community, what it meant to be with one another in community, to love one another, to serve each other, to provide for one another. They learned that the Holy Spirit had come for all people. It reached beyond gender, beyond color of skin, social background, sexual orientation, age. The Holy Spirit comes to the diversity of humanity with a blessing, saying, "You are God's beloved." The community of the church is the place where this diverse family is called to gather and celebrate. And why, Neil, are you leaving me? I guess maybe the Holy Spirit just moved him right on out of here. Okay, Lord, I hear you. Oh, he didn't have his phone? What's it? He always has it. He showed me his new phone. It's mint. Everybody comment on it today. This is new. It's kind of a mint, like mint. We are free to be filled with that same Holy Spirit. And I know people get real nervous when we start talking about the Holy Spirit because they think they're going to do something that's out of control. And coming from a charismatic background in my early days and going to Catholic Women Healing Services, I've learned that the Holy Spirit has a very gentle presence for the most part. What I see is very gentle. It nudges us, opens our hearts and our minds and our spirits to receive the movement of God in our lives. We are free to be filled today. Thank you for joining us, Neil. I was getting a little panicky up here.
Sorry.
Oh, he's getting his iPad. One of these days, every 500 years, the church does a renaissance, a change. Historians have documented this, and I went to a lecture once on it, but it was kind of boring. But every 500 years, the church changes. And we're in one of those cycles now. And when you go online to look at different conferences that are coming up and different ways to get educated, to get your continuing education credits, you'll see things about the future of the church, how Sunday worship is changing, which is one of my passions. And it reminds us that the Spirit of God, the Holy Spirit, is continually coming in and changing us and renewing us, calling us not to stay in the same rut that we've been in for the last 500 years, but saying, I'm doing a new thing now. Open your heart and your mind and be willing to step out of the box and do something a little different. And I find it very exciting. I almost wish I was like 10 years younger. I said, God, why couldn't you have done this 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago? But it is what it is, and I have to just accept that and hope that maybe I can, some of the footprints that I leave behind will help shape the church of today, or at least MCC Albuquerque. We have the freedom to be filled with the Holy Spirit in a very powerful way if we are open to it and if we invite the Holy Spirit. I always find the Holy Spirit to be a gentle presence that's not going to take over our bodies. So how is the Spirit moving in your life? How is it moving in our world? Is it moving in our world? When we see the things that go on today, sometimes we wonder, where are you, God? Neil, do you have any answers? Have you found? Do you need a microphone?
No, not good.
You going to come up here and share?
Well, since I can log in.
He's trying to. My dream is that eventually we will have well, we have Wi-Fi here. Anybody can get on it. We can put it in the bulletin. Probably be a good idea to print. Our Wi-Fi, the key code is 505-268-0000. I don't expect y'all to remember that, but I'll start printing that in the bulletin. Is it will have iPads or Androids in the back of the seats. Every couple seats for people to use that don't have text phones and things. So that's kind of one of my visions, one of my dreams. So. And I know our board goes, oh my gosh, where are we going to get that money? This is in the future, but just, as the prices come down. That's the Holy Spirit moving, but that's one of my visions, one of my dreams. Yes, we are. We are a new church, a new movement in the Holy Spirit's eyes. I mean, most of these churches have been around for 2,000 years. We're only 40-something years. 47, almost 50.
So, Pastor, I can share mine. I wrote that we still experience God's mercy in the world of conflict.
Oh, yeah.
We still experience God's mercy in conflict.
In a world of conflict.
In a world of conflict. Amen. Neil, do you have some? Do we have a microphone we can give?
Yeah.
I know we're kind of low on mics.
Oh. Are you on?
I am now.
Okay. Okay, go for it.
Okay.
Let's hear what you all have to say about this.
So the Spirit took me from the barren river to the desert and healed my heart.
Speak louder.
Well, I was on the mic, so I thought I didn't have to.
Neil, why don't you rise up and face everybody?
Okay.
There you go. Don't be shy.
The Holy Spirit sends me people in need and reminds me to be thankful that I have the skills, the knowledge, and the ability to help God's people. I hope that I am a good ambassador, and when others ask me how I do it, being friendly and helpful all the time, it gives me the opportunity to share my faith and my story of what God has done for me. My life has been touched with real, true love, and I found my new love here at MCC. And the one that you might have not heard was, Spirit took me from the barren river to the desert and healed my heart. It's beautiful. Nice.
Anything else? Anybody else have one last one to say or add? If you don't have a phone, you're welcome to rise up and speak it.
I want you to think about the first time you came to MCC. That's like Jesus saying to you, give me an hour of your time and I will change your life.
Change your life.
Did God not change your life when you came to this church?
Yes, sir.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Amen.
I came for a banquet for Christmas, and Alan was God the Father. He didn't say anything. They told me later he had a stroke and could not talk. And I looked at Gene and said, that's the church I want to belong to. They have their special people up front, not hiding in the back.
Amen.
And I've been here ever since.
Amen.
Thank you.
Will you pray with me, please? Holy Spirit, bearer of fire and born upon the wind, stirrer of the water of the world, your presence shakes and shatters, weaves and brings wonder into our often lackluster world. As you came into the community of believers and doubters gathered in Jerusalem that day, touching each one with passion and purpose, so pour yourself out once more upon us, a community of believers and doubters today, who need your courage and your comfort in our lives. As we speak the words of the glory of God in many languages and with many meanings, give us not only tongues to speak, but ears with which to listen and minds with which to understand and interpret. In this new language of inclusion and love, of mercy and joy, may there be compassion and sincerity in all that we say. Bless your church this day, that wherever God's children are gathered to worship, that God's spirit of truth and joy may fill each soul, and God's spirit of welcome and inclusion may fill each act of our worship. May the gifts of the Spirit, extravagant and compelling, transform each family of faith into a community of compassion and bind the church together as an expression of joy lived out loud. Come, Holy Spirit, come to us today. Amen. God bless you.